Hey everyone, welcome to That Pedal Show Viewers, Comments and Questions Live. Dan here.
Nick here, hello.
Yeah, hope you're all wonderful.
Play that again.
This one?
Yeah, but play it like a 6/8. Sounds like the beginning to Cornflake Girl by Tori Amos.
Oh yeah, there you go. It's very yeah, this is had a lot of people ask about this on the show. We can get into that, but this was the guitar that, yeah, welcome indeed.
We've been away, but now we're back. Oh.
Shut up.
You shush.
Shush.
You shush. Johnny Rooster's on. Great to have you guys live. Peace and love from Leicester, says Johnny Rooster.
Peace and love indeed.
Hello, Johnny. Martin Murray is on. Todd Roy is on. Marcus is here. Hello, mate, from Reeves. Marcus Reeves. Thomas Eichinger is on. Hey, Thomas. From Austria. Howdy from Texas, says Martian Murray. Nathan Lundy Maynard. Hello from NYC. Hello to NYC, New York City. Afternoon all from South Wales, says Sing, Surf, Strum. Sounds like a good manifesto.
Sing, surf, strum.
Yeah. Depends what you're surfing, I suppose.
There you go.
I used to do a mashup of that and Back for Good.
Did you?
Because same chords, right?
Yeah, right.
There's this Capo 2, isn't it?
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah, I don't know if Wonderwall is, but Back for Good definitely is.
Yes, Wonderwall is.
Yeah. Oh dear, this could take a while. Oh, I see.
Okay, yeah. Very good.
But you came back for good.
Very nice.
Love me pop. Love me pop.
Stephen Ketian says, Tokyo here. Good afternoon, Tokyo here. Thanks for joining. Lewis Lanes from Denver, Colorado. Lovely. Oh, hey. Mr. Wit 30. Hello from Huntsville, Alabama. Sweet home. And William Engler, Jeff in Colorado. Jerry Stillwell, hey from Misery, Missouri.
Okay, nice. Scott Gaylor, Neil Levine, Ian Bogle, lots of old friends on. Marcus Reeves is saying how much he loves Gillian Welch. New album out this week, I think. Gillian Welch and David Rawlings.
I was loading in to the Shepherd's Bush walkabout. She was loading into the Shepherd's Bush Empire. They were right next to each other. Well, she wasn't loading in, but she got out of the car while I was loading in. And I'm stood there, about to go and play in a place that just smelled of old urine. And there's Gillian
so
Welsh.
Much better than new urine.
And I'm there going, there's Gillian Welsh. Oh.
Michael Giliberto. Hello, Michael.
Mate.
Great to hear from you. Joined us on an experience day recently. And thanks to you and everyone else who has congratulated. News just in. We come to you from the BBC Tower. Patrons, sorry we didn't get a giveaway into August because of holidays and general mucking about. There'll be 2 in September. Or maybe more. Keep an eye on your Patreon messages. Or if you use the Patreon app, please make sure it's up to date. And please make sure it's your current email address. We get communications from people saying, I never got notified. And then you say, but I've changed my email address. And we're like, well...
We can but try.
We might be pathetic, but we're not telepathetic. Is that going to work? Not really.
It's pretty good.
Not bad. Anyway, that'll come later this week, so sorry there was nothing in August. TPS store, we got new stuff. Got a black overshirt, as you can see.
These are lovely.
They're great. I tend to sort of live in mine.
Yeah. Well, this is my third one.
Yeah.
I now have all the colours of the grayscale, and they're just great. They're really great.
And they'll be on the store tomorrow. And there's new patches for the trucker caps and new trucker caps. So a new design there if you like your truckers. Plus we have new Play Loud and Festival Fuzz tees on the store in a nice new French navy, which is this colour that Dan's wearing.
Most of it. The khaki and navy overshirts, we listened.
Oh.
We now have medium.
Catherine's saying we have medium overshirts now as well for everyone who wanted medium. Anyway, enough sales messages.
There we go.
As you know, we live and die by sales on the Pedal Show store. Hopefully not die. So you know what to do.
Indeed.
Okay, how many Super Chai we got then? BV was just telling me.
My Drum Gold says, afternoon, boys. Please say hello to my wife, B, and see if she notices. Hi, B.
Hello, B.
Have you seen that Texas beekeeper woman? She's amazing. She
Right.
doesn't wear any netting. She just goes and scoops up bees with her hands and puts them in new hives and puts them in a
Oh,
truck, and she
wow.
goes around saving bees. She's amazing.
Well, 19. Thank you, BV, for keeping us informed of what's going on and also for policing the chat. Thank you, mate. It's a trip to have you on board doing that. A very important job. Yeah, maybe we'll turn the super chats off now so we can have a good old
Chin wag.
good old wag of the chin, seeing as we haven't wagged the chin in some time.
Indeed. Todd Roy says, hi, Catherine.
She's just gone,
she's
Todd.
just
We'll pass on your highs. So if you've super chatted to this point, we will answer you. If you're going home this weekend, please put your brother's clothes on the lower peg. Sorry, Monty Python gag for those of you not in the know. On Friday's show, I played the EastEnders theme tune.
Yes.
And forgot to mention it was the EastEnders theme tune. Of course, nobody in America knows what that is.
Yes, right. I missed you. Oh, I missed you, Rosie.
Here's Rosie. Mr. Uncle Dan.
Yeah.
Good. All right. In which case, let's get into the super chats. First in this week, let me guess. It is indeed Duncan Plexico.
Oh, good on you, mate.
Thank you, Duncan. He says, welcome back. What about 500k in 2025 then?
Wouldn't that be
Yeah.
lovely?
We went through the 400,000 subscribers
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
milestone. And as much as we've never really been in it for chasing the numbers, they are nice. And they do actually make quite a big difference once you start getting up there with subscribers. YouTube starts being a bit nicer to you.
Yeah.
Which of course is all helpful because it means a bit more cash coming in. It means the ability to do more stuff, more guests,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
There's some really cool guests coming up.
Better experience of Meat Feast on a Monday night. That
meat
kind of.
feast on a Monday night.
It's a joke, by the way. It's a joke.
Yeah, we've got Sir Graham of Coxonshire in
Ah,
tomorrow, which would be awesome. Great to see him again. And that'll be great to catch up after the Blur reunion gigs. Of course, another massive reunion gig has just been announced.
yes.
Oh, yes. Our mate, who we were texting last week, by the way, which was very cool. More on that later.
Yeah, Oasis. Kind of well timed, isn't it? 30 years.
Yeah.
Happy days.
Happy days.
Happy days. I'm fascinated to see what it ends up being.
You know what? I'm gonna go out there and say it. I've been to both Noel and Liam gigs. And they've both been awesome. And I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really great. I wasn't around for the whole Oasis thing in the 90s.
No.
I missed it. We've done work for both guitar players, you know, Noel and Gam and Liam's guitar players. So we had a bit of a, you know,
Yeah.
backstage perusal and close up encounter of what's going on. Liam is a fantastic singer.
Yeah.
It's just that him on stage doing his thing.
It's not just your imagination.
No, I couldn't take my eyes off him.
Yeah.
He was awesome.
He's a good front man.
Yeah, really great frontman.
Good frontman.
Yeah. So it's going to be really good. It'll be good fun.
There's loads of people in America going, who?
Yeah.
What? Oasis. famous British band from the 1990s.
Brian Mills says, reunion, Tin Spirits. Bless you, mate. I wish. I keep trying. I keep putting it out there. I keep getting battered away down to the boundary. But I'll keep trying.
Matt McGrath. Hey, Matt. He says, so glad to see you back. Dan, I recently got a QMX6. I love it. It makes everything super clear and articulate. Please pass on a warm thank you to the team. Also, have either of you tried the TARS fuzz? T-A-R-S.
First of all, thank you very much. I will. They'll really appreciate that. Who makes the TARS fuzz? I'll have a look. I'll have a look.
No idea.
I got this.
I'm afraid to say.
I is on it. Oh, collision devices. Oh, that looks great. Check that out.
We might.
It's got sliders.
Is it new?
It's got sliders.
Collision Devices did send us some stuff a while back, so depending on how new it is, we might have it.
Oh, that looks beautiful.
Be great. Be great.
Oh, resonance. I hope that might be the resonant peak filter. That's cool.
That is cool. We'll if we've got it, Matt, we'll dig it out. Michael Giliberto, he says, thanks again for the great experience day in July. I loved every minute of it. No question today, so please take one from the chat,
very kind.
we shall do.
Thank you, buddy.
Alex, 2 for 1. Have the super chats been turned off already? Yes, they have. That's not the question. Don't worry. We just wanted to make sure. Okay, come on. All I'm looking for is a question mark here. Come on, come on, come on. Okay, Dave Sandman. Dave Sandman. Hello.
Dave Sandman.
Dan's guitar is in a strange register. It's in a very normal tuning, but in a strange
funny.
register. Yeah.
To me.
My
Funny
favourite
to me.
ever caption in Guitarist magazine.
What's that? The strange register?
It's a bit rude, so sorry. Kirk is at the front playing a solo, doing a very special guitar face.
Right.
Hetfield's behind him. Caption, looks like the Sandman's just entered. Literally, we dined out on that for months. Clearly nobody from Metallica got in touch. Anyway, moving on. Bob Saxon, I think we should answer this in a second. What is an RoHS crackdown? Dan will answer that in a minute, but that is a very important question, actually.
Yep.
And it is insane, by the way, if I
Yep.
may offer an opinion. But David Sandman, he says, my first Q&A that I'm actually seeing live. Let's go. Are noiseless Fender pickups worth a shot if you play high gain? Or are you better off with some single coil shaped humbuckers? And he's talking about Telecasters, not Strats.
Okay. Do you remember the when Strats had the, I don't know what they called them though, the gold, the lace sensors.
Lace sensors.
Yeah. And I really liked them. The noiseless ones, I don't know. I've always preferred for the heavier stuff, this Strat that was gifted to me by Ed O'Brien has a JB humbucker, but it's a single coil sized humbucker in the bridge, and I think that thing sounds flippin' awesome. It also means that if you want to go back to a standard single coil, you can without routing stuff. But I would go that way personally, but I know lots of people get really great results with noiseless things. I don't.
So it's such a hard question because if you take someone like Yngwie, for example, I think he did end up using noiseless pickups in the end, but well, I don't mean in the end, but in later times. But his early stuff was, very
Straight,
classic Strats,
Yep,
right?
Yep.
And the sound of a single coil high gain is a thing.
Such a thing.
And the sound of a humbucker high gain is a thing. So maybe the first thing you want to worry about rather than noiseless or not noiseless is to think, do I like the sound of guitar players using single coils high gain, or do I like the sound of humbuckers high gain? Because they are qualitatively quite different. And that's even before we get into what you prefer to play. But think about the sound first and foremost. Decide whether you want to go single coil or humbucker. If you decide humbucker, I'm with Dan. I think single coil size humbuckers in Fender guitars make some sense because there's all kinds of things that happen with the magnetic field and the EQ of the pickup in general, or indeed the sort of overall tonal shape of it in general, depending on its physical size. You can design some of those things out, but in any case, put a full-size humbucker in there, it starts sounding like a full-size humbucker guitar, which might be what you want. After that, think about mini humbuckers. I've just bought a set of 61 mini humbuckers from Monty's to go in a guitar that's being built at the moment. They're really, really cool. Right, nice halfway house. But yeah, try and narrow it down to that humbuckers or singles, kind of what you want. And then if you want to go noiseless, there's a lot of options available. And there are people who will argue that a noiseless single coil is just a humbucker anyway because of the way they stack the coils. It's not quite true because the tone does end up being very different. Maybe even check out the Fluence pickups by Fishman as well, yes, which is what Greg Koch uses. So, but it's hard to kind of, it's hard to answer that coherently depending on what you want. Now, Dan nor I would never use a noiseless pickup because we don't think they sound as good as, which is a qualitative thing, right? It's a subjective thing. We don't think they sound as good as standard old-fashioned vintage pickups. And we'll choose those in all guitars all the time and deal with the noise elsewhere. Deal with the noise in the rig, deal with the noise off your volume pot. But I do get that if you're running high gain, it just does become a pain. Some days when we're filming in here, I'll just put the Strat down and I'm like, I can't do this today. Yeah. Pick up a humbucker guitar because it's just too much.
Well, I remember doing a rig for James Bay, and he had the guitar with the single P90 in the neck position.
Yep.
And they were getting all sorts of noise, and his rig was super clean. And so I went down a sound check to see what it was, and they had LED lights like all around him. It's like, no, that's just not going to work, especially with P90s. So he ended up getting a Kinman noiseless P90, which just solves all the problems.
Yeah.
And, they sound really good.
Yeah. Sorry, if anyone could hear my phone ringing, then it's actually Dan Drive. I haven't spoken to him for ages. Put it on focus. Sorry.
He's calling up to see if you got any Oasis tickets.
Yeah.
I must have had...
The UPS driver said, got any Oasis tickets? I'm like, I probably won't even have one for myself, let alone anybody else. So,
I must have had 20 text messages from people I haven't heard from for decades.
Would you ask somebody? Would you go, could you get me a Blah ticket? I wouldn't.
No.
Anyway, there we are. Okay, let's moving right along.
W Max says, is Noel getting his bigger buttons now? We'll see.
Yeah, that was a question that Catherine and I were, a conversation Catherine and I were having in the car.
Right.
I wonder if that would happen.
I did say to him,
yeah,
okay, that's what you want.
Yeah,
we'll make them as big as far apart as you like.
For those of you not following, when we did the video with Noel, Dan built a studio board, I guess, and a home board for Noel, which had a G3 on it. But Noel said he wouldn't use it live because the buttons weren't far enough apart, and then cut to his actual stage board, and it's like, it's that big, massive, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the buttons are like miles apart, so that you can, yeah. I kind of get it on a stadium stage.
But the funny thing about that, like, he's like, I got a bone to pick with you. He said, I asked him to make me this board. He said, could you do it with the buttons further apart? And I don't remember this, but apparently I said, no, we can't do it. And Noel says, oh, all right then. I only wrote Wonderwall. Oh, that's funny.
Not wishing to rub salt into the wound, you did one for Biffy Simon, though. Or you just took out every other switch?
Just took out every other switch.
Yeah. And filled the holes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they still uses it?
Yeah. Yeah. Alex241. He says, I have a 5-watt boutique Princeton clone and would like to hear her sweet cranked tones at bedroom volume. I thought of the aux, but it's not budget friendly. What are there any other options? Thanks from upstate New York.
I think for something like that, you're better off getting a little attenuator on the output. You get better results if you want to crank 5 watts. Because 5 watts would be loud in a bedroom.
Friday's video has a 1/2 watt amplifier in it. In fact, this 1/2 watt amplifier. And this is 1/2 watt, right? It's got a 12 BH7 output tube by the looks of things and a 12 AY7, and it puts out 1/2 watt. By Hagerman, Jim Hagerman.
Such a cool thing.
It really is a cool thing. And hello to Gordon Rankin, who introduced us to Jim Hagerman. And it's taken us a while to get round to it. He also built me a tube clon. A clon which replaces the IC with the tube.
Oh, nice.
Anyway, sorry, digression. 1/2 watt measures over 80 dB on the over there, which per your question is too loud for bedroom, right? So what do you do with 5 watts? Would that brown thing work?
No, the brown thing is not an attenuator. The brown thing is a voltage regulator.
Right.
So what I would be looking at, because I'm assuming there's no effects loop or anything in there. So what I would be looking at is a really simple attenuator that goes from the speaker output to the speaker that will take a load. And so the only thing that you'd be missing in that scenario is how much the speaker is driving. That's a big thing.
It's such a big deal in a Princeton.
Yeah, but it will give you the limiting of the amplifier. So yeah, I'd be looking at that. What else?
The trouble is, as you allude, I mean, the aux is quite expensive. Anything really good tends to be expensive. My favourite sounding attenuator for smaller amps is the Iron Man.
Iron Man's amazing. By
Tone King, and I think they might be 300 and some quid.
Right.
The big one is much more expensive, but the smaller one isn't as much. So I don't know where you are, Alex. In the US, so it could be that Tone King in the US is a bit more affordable than it is here. So check out the Tone King Iron Man 2, I think it's called, and they do 2 versions, one for 30 watts and under, and one for up to 100 watts. And that is a really fantastic attenuator because if you just use something like one of those Palmer PDI-06s, something like this, where are you? Here you are. This is really good, right? And they're not terribly expensive.
Michael is displaying the Palmer Power Pad.
These are really great if you've got something like a 50 or 100 watt Marshall and you just want to take it down.
Yeah,
or
just a notch.
And actually they're pretty good at that. Once you get to here, the tone changes so vastly and so radically that you need some kind of onboard presence and resonance controls, or at least something that's going to handle the high and low end, because once you do all that attenuation, everything changes, and there's loads of reasons for that, but just take it as read that it changes. And that's one great thing about the Iron Man. It enables you to do some of those things. Plus it has some other features in terms of switchable attenuation. So you can have like one level and then a level below, or foot switch, etc., etc. That would be my recommendation.
Lots of other recommendations coming in. Frankie Holt says Iron Man 2 is $3.95 at Sweetwater. Radial Prodigy is one. The Note Captor 8 ohms.
Actually, a quick sad note on Radial. Peter died recently.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, the founder of Radial, Janis, I think his surname was. Met him a few times at various shows and stuff. Anyway, Peter died recently, so rest in peace, mate.
That's a really wonderful company. Did some wonderful things.
Big
Canadian.
Makes so many good boxes, so many useful things that are always sensibly priced.
They're a big company.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you know, in Canada, they do some really cool things. Okay, that's some sad news. Lots of people saying the Dr. Z brake is good. I used to like the old Marshall brake.
Power brake.
Yeah, that was good.
I think they're quite hard to come by. The Z brake, I know a couple of people who use that and rate it very highly. So yeah, do check that out as well. Good luck, Alex. Hope you find something. Damien Joseph. How would you adapt the simple pedal board setup from the best amp ever for a fuzz addict. Sending positive vibes from South Carolina. Thank you, Damien. We feel them. And
Thank you. Yeah.
back to you, buddy. So the best amp ever pedalboard had on it a... Can't actually remember.
Boy, oh boy.
What will it have had? It will have had an overdrive pedal. Was it the no balls?
Yes.
Let's have a look.
Oh, it had the Keeley, the halo delay.
Hello.
Hello.
What?
Oh, Andy did a couple of stages over the weekend. Far out, man. He's so good. He's so on it.
He's amazing.
He's amazing.
He's utterly amazing.
Love that man.
I'm just going to check out what was on that pedal board. It was a Polytune, an EP booster, no balls, overdrive, C2 chorus, Halo dual echo, and the G7. So you're saying, how would you adapt it for a fuzz addict? I would just add a fuzz on the front.
Straight on the front.
Right on the front.
No messing.
Yeah, and if you're massively a fuzz addict, you could replace the two gain pedals, i.e. the EP booster and the no balls, for two fuzzes. Then you get into the whole question of which fuzz should come first.
Chicken fuzz or
Good
the
luck.
egg fuzz.
Good luck. Or what Dan would do, choose a really great tone bender in position 2, and then put a treble booster in front of it.
Yes.
That's what you would do, isn't
That's
it?
indeed what I would do.
Yeah. So treble booster first, great tone bender second. I would simply add a fuzz face to the front of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Good luck, mate.
Good luck. Chris Liddell. Hi, Chris. Or Liddell. Liddell or Liddell.
Good meeting, Little.
He says, welcome back. One side of my D&M drive has stopped working. I'd love to know which side. Is there a pedal repair place in the UK you guys would recommend?
I send everything to Hampstead. Peter at Hampstead
Do they do repairs?
Yeah.
They do public repairs?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he's a genius. Because he can do them quickly. Because he gets in, he knows what's going on. Bang. He's really great. It's everything that if I've got something with a specific bit of gear and I know the manufacturer, then I'll go direct to the manufacturer. But if it's an old bit of gear or something, I'll just go straight to Peter and he sorts it out. He's brilliant.
Hopefully it'll be something obvious like a switch. It'll be something easy, hopefully.
Yeah.
But so Dan says contact Hampstead who actually do repairs.
Yep.
No doubt there are other people in the chat who are going to give you contacts for people they use.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you go about diagnosing something like that.
Yeah.
Don't, basically.
Just no.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, and it's, if you're sad like me, it can be really fun.
I fixed our Benson dual reverb.
You did. There you go. You did a great job.
Diagnosed that and fixed it.
There you go.
It was
Brilliant.
the reverb tank itself.
Yeah.
One of the transducers had gone, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And rather than repair that, a new reverb tank's like 29 quid.
Yeah. There you go.
So, yeah.
Do they sound different, the sides?
I haven't listened to it enough because I discovered something deeply upsetting about the Neve 8816 summing mixer.
Okay.
Anyway. So I'm going to have a proper listen to it. But man, it sounds so good. You wouldn't think... Sorry, digression. Hopefully the information will be in the comments below to find someone that can repair that for you. What I'm talking about is a Benson Studio Tallbird tube stereo spring reverb. Some interesting things about it. It passes no direct signal.
That's right. You have to have it.
So it has to be in a bus, which is fine. A parallel bus in true studio fashion. 2, in this day and age, would you think about mixing a record with a spring reverb?
Yeah.
You'd think about plates and digital reverbs,
okay.
wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Certainly on things like vocals and stuff. It sounds unbelievable.
I bet.
It sounds so
man.
good.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, slight digression. Paul Matulovic. Hello, Paul. It was good to see you again recently as well. He says, conductors of the Soul Train. SOLE. Paul went out for Chris and the end of Friday Fretworks. Is he stopping doing it?
He's stopping doing Friday. It's too busy with Cardinal Black.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, good for him. Less good for people who love Friday Fretworks.
Yeah. You just have to come on our show more often.
Yeah. Okay, we will. Paul went out for Chris in the end of Friday Fretworks and thank him for his sterling work.
Yeah, he did some really great videos.
He really did. And then raise one for Zach Broyles opening up a shop.
Yeah, in
10
Nashville.
8. Is it called 10-8? Anyway. A shop 10-8. I don't know what that means. Sorry. Maybe that's what the shop's called.
Yeah. I talked to him
congrats,
recently.
Zach.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I was in touch with Zach. When I was in Miami, I went to a couple of different places. I went to Walt Grace Vintage, which was awesome. And anyway, I ended up talking to Zach, and he said that he was opening up a shop in Nashville because apparently there's some really cool vintage shops. But he said there's a bunch of stuff that you just couldn't get. Like you couldn't get a Dr. Z
Oh, I see.
in Nashville. So he's just gone, okay, there's a big hole there. I'm going to jump in. And he's so great. He worked at Carter Vintage for a long time. I would be very surprised if there'd only be a handful of people on the planet who know more about vintage guitars than Zach. He's unbelievable encyclopedic knowledge.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
That's really cool.
another reason to visit Nashville.
Lots
Just
of
saying.
Lots of people are chiming in saying, Hobo Roadie is saying, let's see who else is saying, Frankie Holt, and a few others are saying it's going to be called High Voltage, and 10-8 means the 8th of October.
Oh, that's right. Okay, there we go.
Yes. So, yeah, congrats, Zach. Well, we will offer you congratulations when it opens.
Yes. Indeed.
Amazing. Good. Thanks for the clarification, everyone. Cole Bender. Hello, Cole.
Cole Bender, he's the man. No.
Reminds me of the business that I suggested to Mary Spender called Spare E Mender, which was an online tyre thing. Pretty much the first day I met her, I was like, Mary Spender, Spare E Mender. There is a business. And I could see the logo on the side of the van.
I started a business once just because I came up with a really cool name. Pane in the Glass Window Cleaning.
Oh, that's nice.
You like that?
That's very good.
Literally started a business.
There's some great window cleaners.
There
is actually a cleaner around here called Spruce Spring Clean. Anyway.
That's funny.
That is funny. Anyway, Cole. Cole says, I've got a Revstar, Yamaha Revstar with P90s. Speaking of Mr. Christopher of Buckshire. He says, I have a Revstar with P90s and I want an overdrive pedal with clarity and high volume. High end. Sorry, I just see high and I say high volume. With clarity and high end sparkle that tames the drone and honk around the 12th fret. What are your thoughts?
Could you be more specific?
Well, no, I kind of know what you mean, actually. No doubt P90s can get a bit honky.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a great thing if that's what you want, but if you don't want it, not so good. Yeah, you can solve, per the end of your question, what about an EQ? Yeah, you can solve anything and everything with EQ in terms of frequency. Obviously, that's its job. I'd be looking at the frequencies 800 to 1.2, maybe a little bit lower than that, 4 to 800, depending on where the honk is, but you want to be somewhere in that, what we would think of as mid-range. So yeah, you certainly could do it with an EQ. Overdrive pedal, well, clearly you don't want anything that has a pronounced mid hump in that area, which would be all kinds of tube screamers, clons, and all that, because you will get more of that. And interestingly enough, I was going to suggest Chris's own signature overdrive pedal, but that wouldn't work because that is quite mid-heavy.
Yeah.
It does have the faintest whiff of tube screamer about it.
Indeed.
Doesn't sound like a tube screamer, just for the record. The Thorpe Effects Electric Lightning.
It's electric. It's lightning. It's electric lightning.
Yeah. So nothing in the Tube Screamer family, I wouldn't say. Something tweedy could be pretty cool because tweed overdrives tend to have a bit of sizzle.
Yeah.
Where are you in the world? You are in the United States of America. Or something with a sweepable mid-range.
Right.
Because there's quite a few overdrive pedals that might have a... I'll tell you... No.
How much gain are we looking for?
What about this? Do they still make this?
They still make I'm not supposed to make exactly the same one, but they still make a version of
an
it.
An overdrive pedal with an actual EQ in it.
So that's the Mark Lettieri Melody Drive
from
J Rocket, who have never released a bad pedal. Sounds great.
I concur.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get that. That's what I say.
Get it.
There you go.
Get it.
Job done.
Lovely.
Perfect. Hope that helps, Cole. Airfire Ed, how
G'day,
are you, buddy?
mate.
He says, while you've been gone, I've decided to turn my fitness around. Good for you, mate. So far, I've lost 5 kilograms.
Oh, well done.
That's a lot. 5 bags of sugar.
Yeah.
That's a lot, mate. Well done. Being on the treadmill can be a challenge, so a recommendation of some new, to me, well-paced albums would be much appreciated.
Oh, okay. New to you.
Tempos are such an interesting thing with exercise, isn't it? I do know people who have to listen to that
EDM.
Whatever it's called, where you get the very pronounced sidechain compression on the bass drum, and that defines the whole sound of it all, and some auto-tuned vocals up the top and idiot melody in between. That, whatever that music's called, and they love that, and because that keeps them going.
It's interesting. A lot of modern. Let me say this again. I find that there are some modern punk type things where the tempo is really up, and that's great. I find a lot of modern heavy stuff really back,
right,
sort of really down, and singing about authoritarian shenanigans and
to give a heavy vibe. Yeah. I always think slow music's way heavier than fast music. Yeah,
but then you go back and listen to some, like, I remember driving in the car and AC/DC came on my music mix, and I was like, oh yeah, and I looked down and I was just going like 15 miles an hour faster without any.
Yeah,
I was like, oh man, alive.
Yeah, man, good 4 on the floor.
Yeah,
rock could really work, couldn't it?
Yeah,
because you get one thing you can, if depending on the tempo, and depending on your subdivision, your pace can match the tempo of the music.
Don't try listening to something at 7/8 because you just fall.
Yeah, I actually prefer listening to conversation and podcasts.
Okay.
So then what then happens is the exercise kind of takes care of itself, because you get into a natural thing and you forget about it. You're just going at the rhythm you need to be going at, and if you need to check your odometer or whatever it's called, speedometer, just to make sure you're in the right place, that can be quite good. But what I find is it enables you to tune out a bit of the exercise part, which I'm still yet to meet anyone who likes doing that. It gets boring. Yeah,
it does, but I prefer to be in the exercise part. The mind in it as much as I can.
Oh, right.
So-
I don't.
Yeah. Otherwise, if I'm doing something like walking or
Yeah.
whatever, podcasts.
Yeah.
If I'm doing something, so I've started going to the gym with Zach.
Yeah.
Man, in 2 months' time, I mean, in like 3 weeks, he's already like he's 17. It's ridiculous.
The joy of youth.
So, but we're sort of it's
Yeah, yeah.
great because we're sort of pushing each other, but really focused, really intense, and sort of like mind in it. Couldn't do that level of exercise with the mind not being in that place.
Eckhart Tolle says something interesting about that. To contradict what I just said, when I walk with the dog and when I run, I've got to have nothing,
Yeah,
which kind of concurs with what
Yeah.
you're saying.
yeah,
Because Eckhart says, if you do something at a normal pace, you walk at a normal pace, I think it's Eckhart, you can concentrate on something else. If you're going slightly faster than your normal pace, you can't.
okay.
Because your brain is...
in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's
sorry,
great.
it's not helpful at all, Ed. I'm sure there's loads and loads of suggestions coming through to you.
Scott Gallagher says, I listen to TPS. Bless you, mate.
Bless you, Scott.
Loads of suggestions. Biffy Clara, yep. This the Sound Awake album. Someone mentioned that by Carnival. Yes, Ruin Andres, awesome. Iron Maiden, Run to the Hills. That'll get you where you're going to go real quick. Yeah, great. Sabbath. Yeah, awesome. There's some really great suggestions in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Well done, Ed.
Yeah, good on you, mate.
Nice one. It's
It's life changing.
an energising thing to do.
Yeah.
Well done, mate. Paul Matulovic. And now we have our into the RoHS crackdown. He says, Paul Matulovic says, and sorry to hear about the RoHS, which is not the Royal Horticultural Society. What is it? The
Restriction of hazardous substances.
There we are. Guest buying modulation is going to get real dicey, though I suppose only a few rely on real LDRs. But life without a univerb is sad face. So what's happening, Daniel?
Okay. So the RoHS law, restriction of hazardous substances, and it's been around since the end of 2004, and it's something that, I've been dealing with that stuff for 20 years, but they've really started cracking down. There's been a number of manufacturers who we all know who've come under scrutiny, and recently a letter has gone out to retailers to say if you are stocking this stuff that doesn't meet RoHS requirements. So to step back a little bit, there are 10 items in the law that says they need to be removed from all modern manufacturing.
Cadmium, arsenic,
Yeah, cadmium, lead is the big one.
digital processing.
Absolutely. And in our world, so we used lead in solder, so that had to change to non-leaded solder. Created some issues where the temperature of the non-leaded solder is much higher, and we had to change manufacturing processes to accommodate that. But there are specific components that are non-RoHS compliant. One of them being LDRs, or light dependent resistors. And so there are a bunch of companies that make any traditional lamp-based univibe used light dependent resistors in the univibe.
The first casualty that I can remember was more than 10 years ago, and it was the original Rotavibe, Dunlop Rotavibe.
Right.
And that was ages ago that they stopped doing that.
Our very first ever switcher in 2004, the Pro 14, we used LDRs on the post gain.
Right.
And by 2004, by 2005 we had them out.
Huh.
Because
So it's 20
RoHS
years.
is 20 years old, that
At
law.
least.
But what they're
Yeah.
doing now is they're really enforcing it. So there's two interesting things. That law is in Europe primarily. It's not in America. But American manufacturers who want to sell into Europe have to make stuff that they can sell. and they're not going to run lines for US and lines for Europe separately. Same with any UK manufacturing, although the law is in the UK as well. But there are American manufacturers, point in case Chase Bliss, who announced that they're selling, they're stopping 5 products on their line, but they'll sell the rest of that stock into America because they can. They've also released the Womb Tone pedal, which is a collaboration between Chase Bliss and Billy Strings, but that's a phaser that uses, again, LDRs, and they're only selling that product in America. So the penalties are harsh. They can go into, the fines are tens of thousands of pounds, but the cost, the legal cost and everything, it can be into the hundreds of thousands of pounds if you get stuck doing this. So anyone looking to manufacture and sell anything is now have to get on top of their RoHS compliance.
To me, it's crazy with how it relates to boutique guitar pedals anyway, because, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, the problem is if those hazardous materials get into
Groundfill.
The environment.
Exactly.
Either by a watercourse or by groundfill, things being thrown away. So you can understand it with stuff like batteries and TVs and things. If you go to your local tip, apologies, I don't know what they're called in the US, but dumps, places where you throw things away. If you go to the television and the fridge freezer and the washing machine pile at your local tip, it's heartbreaking.
Oh, completely.
Just
completely.
So much consumer electronics just being junked. So of course that stuff is going in. Now, I've never seen a Chase Bliss pedal in the pile of crap at the tip. Plus, how many Chase Bliss pedals will there have to be in that pile of crap to cause any harm?
So, if you were to consume an LDR that has cadmium in it, how many LDRs do you think you would need to consume before the cadmium reached a legal consumable level?
I'm going to say many more than your digestive system could handle. 5,000. Yeah, so you'd have to eat.
You have to eat 5,000 LDRs before the amount of cadmium in them goes above the legal level of. I mean, so it is crazy. And just the other thing that's crazy is it says in the law that there needs to be a replacement component.
Yeah.
But there is no replacement component for LDRs. There are other ways that you can do it, but they sound nothing like LDRs.
Now, it might be if 50 million LDRs end up in the environment. So there's this thing now, like I take an omega-3 supplement, right, which is supposedly good for your brain. And the big thing on the suppliers of the omega-3 supplements is don't eat the fish ones anymore because it's full of mercury. And it's full of all the pollutants the fish are full of. Don't eat it. And I'm like, what, really? And that's the environmental case. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying that's the messaging. And it might be that 50 million LDRs in the environment is going to cause some harmful effects. But I say again,
we're not dealing with those sorts of numbers.
You don't, A, we're not dealing with those sorts of numbers. B, you don't throw guitar effects pedals away. Maybe you do if they're £8 from China. That's
a different story. Yeah.
So it would make sense, surely, for there to be some kind of exemption, perhaps.
So there are exemptions in the medical industry and in the military.
So if you've got loads of money and power, you're exempt.
Pretty much. So
it makes my piss boil stuff like this.
An example. So think of the car industry, where they've had to come up with all these laws. But you can have a battery with like pure cadmium terminals, but they can make that exempt because it's part of a battery, and anyway. Yeah. This is what we are now dealing with.
Yes. Dobiog makes a really good point. It's very short term to say it doesn't make any difference because the long term, totally get that. Get that. I would just reiterate, you don't throw boutique guitar effects pedals away. You just don't.
No, don't even sell them. Don't even, just hold on to hundreds and hundreds of them.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Yeah. Hey ho.
And away we go.
Chris Davis says, just tuned in to hear Mick talking about omega-3 supplements. Very, very TPS. Good to have you back. I don't know if it makes any difference. I was talking to Paul Stacey and he was telling me there's a few things that we're really deficient in. K2,
Vitamin D. Yep. I've had this chat with Paul. He's really up on it.
He's really into it, but there's some you can take and some you can't.
Magnesium.
I started taking all 4 at different times. I immediately got sick. And I got COVID, I think, during the summer or just before the summer. And it took me whenever that was, must have been way before the summer, because it's taken me that long to get over it.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying that there's a connection there, but I just do wonder, sometimes eat a balanced diet, good in-season produce. If you've got the gumption to do that. Yeah. But anyway, I'm still taking 3 of them. I gave up on the last one you said because apparently it was the wrong type and it's not very bio.
You've got to have a magnesium, and there's something else that helps you digest the magnesium. I've started taking them before I go to bed. Yeah. And I'm sleeping like a big sleepy thing.
Catherine uses magnesium for restless leg syndrome, I think it's called. But yeah, I've never had any problem with sleeping. Waking is my problem. Anyway, there we are. We'll all be dead soon, so it's fine. Welcome back and congratulations on 400k, says Danielle Williams. Hello, Danielle.
Thank you.
Nice to hear from you. I love Friday's show. As always, plenty to think about. Think I'll make a start with the Red Dwarf theme.
Nice.
I can't bring it to mind. You'd know it if you heard it, wouldn't you?
Yeah. And being a sci-fi fan, I found Red Dwarf very frustrating. I couldn't get into it, but my wife is a massive Red Dwarf fan.
I wouldn't say I was a fan, but I always laughed at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never found a way into it. I think it was
I think it was very British as well.
So British.
Yeah.
I couldn't, the main guy in it, I could barely understand what he was saying half the time.
Oh, because, he's from
really,
Liverpudlian.
Yeah.
Lister. What's his name? Craig Charles. Stephen Cattian. Or Cation. Apologies if I've said it wrong, Stephen. Anyway, Stephen says, in the Deluxe Reverb reissue video, you guys kept saying they're the perfect simple amp. So if I only have one guitar, why the 4 inputs? Seriously, what do they do? My shirts are still all TPS shirts. Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, 2 channels. 2 separate channels in that amp that are out of polarity with one another. So you could, if you want, run 2 things into one of those channels. One has got vibrato and reverb, tremolo and reverb. The other one doesn't. Secondly, the inputs are, so channel 1, channel 2, the inputs are a high input and a low input. And I think on Fender amps, it's -8 dB or something like that.
Okay.
On the low input.
Right.
So if you've got a guitar that's more powerful, the original thought was if the guitar was more powerful with humbuckers and you wanted a cleaner sound, you could plug into the input too, so you wouldn't push the front end so much. That's why there's 2 inputs on each channel.
Interesting. So originally they were instrument and microphone inputs. Way back when.
Rewind. Yeah, different. On a Tweed Deluxe, it's a completely different game. They were designed for different instruments.
Right.
By the time we get to Deluxe Reverb, they may well have had different instruments in mind.
But they're just different resistor values on the inputs.
And it was specifically a guitar amp by that point.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's why 4 inputs. Thomas Eichinger. Hi, Thomas.
Hi, Thomas.
Hey, DNM. Good to have you back. Got myself a Boss DD200.
Lovely. Well done.
It sounds awesome with my wet dry rig. Congrats on 400k. No queue today. Just pick one from the chat.
Thank you, buddy.
Which we will.
Jake Loosemore says, hang on. Are you not supposed to eat LDRs then?
Hello, Jake.
G'day, mate. Hope you're awesome, buddy.
I can't come to Lottie's on Wednesday. Unfortunately, I am busy doing something else. Sorry, I haven't texted you back. Dan Bingham is playing at Lottie's on Wednesday.
Lovely.
Bar Lottie here in Froome.
Yeah. Yeah, well done on getting that gig, mate. The photos look amazing. Hoorah. Woolly Fox says, what was the Nick Frost sci-fi comedy?
Was there a series? With him and Simon Pegg, or was it just Nick Frost?
I don't know. Nick Frost was in Star Wars though, the one with
Yeah.
Ridley. Ridley. What's her name? Ridley. No. Anyway, he's the big guy that says
Hyperdrive, it was called.
Hyperdrive, right? But the Star Wars with Ridley, I forget her last name, with the big looking dude that says 1/4 portion. That's Nick Frost, dressed up in that costume. So funny.
Useless, Michael. Useless. I know, Jake. I know.
Spaced. It was spaced. There you go. That was that had Nick Frost and Simon Pegg in it.
Right.
Yes, because Tina's a big fan.
Yes. You're a sci-fi household, aren't you?
Very much so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Daisy Ridley. Thank you very much, Oliver. Oh, that's Simon Pegg. I was. There's a. Okay. Well, Nick Frost was in there somewhere. Okay. Great.
Yeah, so you're talking about space, and there was another one that I just remembered called Hyperdrive, which was Nick Frost.
Right.
And
okay.
I only know that because Google told me. I wouldn't stand to get elected.
Oh, and Jessica Hines. She is brilliant.
Yeah. Oh, sounds like there's a lot more going on as well. All I'm trying to do is find a.
Yeah, sorry, I'm leading everyone down a path of silliness.
Okay, what we'll do is we'll combine two questions here. JK Outdoor says, can you daisy chain the inputs on a deluxe or other black panel Fender amp like you can with old Marshalls and Hiwatts with 4 inputs? Yes, with a caveat. Because the channels are opposing phase, you would have to flip the phase.
Mm-hmm.
So you could use a Dan's Humdinger or any device that will flip the phase. You could even, if you've got an effects pedal that flips the phase, you could use that as well.
Yeah.
Like
That's
for
a great
example,
way to do it.
if you've got a full tone tube tape echo, that flips the phase. And if you put that in between the two channels,
and then you have a delay
Boom
master
shaker.
volume on one side.
yeah,
Awesome.
there's
There's a show.
that is sexy.
There, I love that.
Yeah, so do that. Similarly, the Surfy Bear reverb. If you wanted reverb in your second channel, you could put the reverb in between, and that flips the phase as well.
Amazing.
There you are.
Love that.
And then the related question is from Lords of Form. Hi, Lords of Form. What is jumping about? I'm always confused. It just so happens that on a 4-input Marshall, same as on the Deluxe Reverb, you've got 2 channels and 2 inputs for each channel. By connecting, push your guitar into high input number 1, put a patch lead from high input number 2 to low input number 1. There you go, there's 4 inputs on a Fender Tweed style amplifier. The 2 channels can then be operated at the same time. So if you play, the most common way to do it is on a Plexi Marshall, because the high treble channel can sound very bright and nasty until you get it up past where the bright cap gives up. At low volumes, it can sound very thin and not very nice. So you jump the channels and you can mix in the low channel, the normal channel, to taste. So you get a more balanced EQ response. But on its own, the normal channel sounds woolly and flat. So that's what it's for. And then once you get up there with Marshalls, you tend to unjump them and just have the channel that you want. But yeah, that's what it's about.
Very good.
That's what it's about. Eagle Ray Rob. Hello, Rob. He says,
mate.
big love to everyone. If you haven't already, I highly recommend listening to Gillian Welch and David Rawlings' new album, Woodland. It's a sonic masterpiece. Their studio, Woodland Studios, is full of vintage analog gear. Yes, it is.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
They
I believe so.
yes.
One of the things I love about David Rawlings is he, most commonly, whenever I see him anyway, I don't know this is always the case, but most commonly plays an archtop acoustic guitar. So no traditional sound hole, the F holes. And he has this very unique, once you've been listening to him for a while, it can only ever be him. And very on it style of melody playing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's just such a specific kind of tone.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe somebody in the chat will say what guitar it actually is. Martin made some guitars that looked a bit like that years ago. Anyway, whatever it is, old Gibson or whatever, it's such a unique sound. My favourite record of theirs is The Harrow and the Harvest. I just love that.
Yeah. Well, I remember when Oh Brother, Where Art Thou came out, and didn't think much of the film, but the soundtrack.
Did you not?
It was all
mate,
right.
I loved it.
It was all right,
Coen
but the
Brothers.
soundtrack just killed me.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
amazing.
Well, it's credited for birthing modern bluegrass, isn't it?
Oh, right.
Whether that was a coincidence or part of a groundswell or whatever it was credited with having a lot to do with the explosion in that music again,
Right.
via people like Nickel Creek, via Gillian Welch, via Alison Krauss.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Yeah. Nice. Thanks for the shout out for that, Rob. I did have a couple of spins of it in the car yesterday.
Epiphone Olympic, apparently.
Oh, there you go.
One saying.
Awesome. Thank you for
Thank
that.
you, people.
Brian Carpenter, sorry, I was going to add something, but I shan't. Brian Carpenter, nice to hear from you as always, Brian. He says, welcome back. Any thoughts on the Fender Supersonic 22? I'm looking for something to pair with my Friedman Runt 20 that can do clean or crunch when needed. I really like the Supersonic amps.
Yeah.
I had a 60 for a while.
Are they 6v6?
Just check him. I'm going to say it probably is if it's 22 watts.
I'm fascinated. I have a whole new appreciation for the 6v6.
It's funny you should say that.
Really?
It does seem to just work, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm using the Princeton in conjunction with the mattress at the moment. And the mattress is glorious, but it'd be a shallow husk of a tone without the Princeton. And that's not fair. The mattress is the most incredible amplifier, but boy oh boy, what the Princeton adds to it.
A load of fun, isn't it?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Supersonic 22. I mean, looking at it, looking at the spec, you could say it's the deluxe reverb for. I mean, they never really were that popular, Supersonics. I'm not sure if people understood what they were or what they were for.
Okay.
But yes, look at that. What a groovy thing.
Oh wow.
22 watts, 2 6v6s, 2 channels, and you have these different voicing. And it'll do a lot more gain at lower volume because it's a master volume design, obviously.
Single 12-inch.
Single 12, yeah, great. I like the 60 a lot, but as Dan says, there's something about 6v6s and that sort of magic 15 to 20 watt area where you can properly get to that point in the power section where it's starting to happen.
Yep. Nothing sounds like them.
Yeah.
They're really, really cool.
And it does remind me of something I wanted to talk about today. Daniel,
Tell me.
on a serious note, I was looking for some percussion.
On a serious note, looking for something to hit.
Yeah, I need a little something or other.
Okay.
Oh well, I can't find anything.
Whilst Mick is looking for some percussion.
I did have one of those whistle things that goes, and that's what I wanted.
Oh!
Yeah. So we'll go mix moan. There you go. And then obviously on the end, let's try that again.
Okay.
It's
Mix moan.
okay.
Just the level of detail and effort that we go to on this show is unsurpassed.
You don't get production like this everywhere.
You don't.
I saw yet another function band on Saturday night
Right.
with an inaudible guitar player. Walked in, sounded great.
Right.
They were playing Jump by Van Halen.
Awesome.
Keys, ba, 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 da, ba, ba, da, ba. You know, that big synth
Yep.
thing with the pad underneath.
Yep.
Present, bright, exactly as it should be. Bass.
Yep. Live acoustic drums.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
Yep. Fine.
Yep.
Look at me, got my back against the wrecking machine. That really important riff that goes...
Not there.
I turned to Catherine and I said, I'm not making this up, right? I can't hear him at all. Comes to the solo,
Nothing.
literally no idea if he did a good job of it or not, because I can't hear him.
Yeah.
Living on a Prayer comes round.
No.
I can just about hear it.
Right.
Now he's holding in what he used to make it talk so tough.
Wow, wow.
That really flat bend.
Yeah.
So I love that. It's supposed to be, I think. Talking tough, apologising.
Apologising.
Solo comes around, could just about pick it up because I knew what I was listening to. So I know I'm being facetious, I'm not being very kind, but why?
Yeah.
Why is this happening when the keyboard player was fantastic?
Yep.
They did a song that's got a squeeze box
Piano
solo
accordion.
in that you don't realise is a squeeze box until you listen to it. I'll remember in a minute. They played that.
Onto the hills.
Every single important part of a song. Baggy Trousers by Madness.
Oh, nice.
Which I think
That's brilliant.
sounds like a squeeze box to me. And he nailed it. And
Yeah.
the bass player was flipping awesome. Just awesome. And I'm sure the guitar player was really good. Couldn't hear him. Why? Literally couldn't hear him.
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
We know why.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
It's so sad. Please don't do it. Mix mode.
Ooh. That's more of a reality check than a moan. It's, come on, people. We can. Yeah, we don't need to apologise. We play guitar.
Yeah.
Get out there and give it some.
Oliver Boysen says, what gear was he using? Hilariously, a Hot Rod DeVille,
No.
but a big digital thing in front of it.
Okay.
So he's probably a really good player, and I don't mean anything rude towards the guy himself, because I'm sure he's a great player, but just couldn't hear it. So, yeah. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. And then lots of people, was it the player or the venue that was the reason for no volume? Well, the snare drum was loud.
Everyone else is
The
loud.
bass was loud. The keys were loud. And I don't mean oppressively loud either. It was
You
a
could
very
just hear
nice volume for an outdoor kind of small tent
Yeah.
gig. It was great, actually. The sound was really good.
Delta Fit says it's always the guitar players who get told you're too loud, turn it down, which is such a shame. And I agree with that. The problem isn't volume. The problem is crap tone. Because the sound of a distorted instrument is not pleasant. And if it's not pleasant in a truly
Yeah.
unpleasant way, it grates. So you're told to turn down. And then the drummer comes on and bashes and it's like loud as you like. But if you've got great tone, you can be loud. But what I mean by great tone is not just the sound of everything together. It's, the way you play and everything.
Yeah.
It's all a part of the package.
Yeah. And
And-
be loud in the appropriate places.
Exactly.
I think as a more sort of helpful suggestion, I think we all underestimate, or at least if you haven't been doing it, or if you've been doing it in an environment that doesn't really allow you to experiment, it's very easy to underestimate the volume jump you need for a guitar solo.
Yeah.
And I don't want to also sound like it's all about the guitar solo. It isn't all about the guitar solo, but it bloody well is if you're playing Living on a Prayer or Jump.
Yeah.
It really is all about the guitar solo.
because people are waiting for it.
When
They're-
the guitar solo happens.
Yeah, they're waiting for it. They're at the front going, come on, come. I remember doing loads of function gigs and, you'd do something like Sweet Child of Mine and there'd be a group of guys at the front just waiting for it.
There's usually
you
girls
know?
with me, but
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. But you know, there's a bunch of
Remember the 90s?
Those solos are iconic for a reason, and they're those big tunes, and they're part of the structure of the song. And if they're not there, and if you can't hear them, then you're doing the song an injustice.
Yeah, Dustin, you're right. Drums are super transient, so they don't sound loud.
Yeah.
Distorted guitars are pure RMS, therefore sound louder. Yeah, Dan was making that point, and we know why. We know why. Anyway, moving on. It was good to see an actual band, though, and people enjoying it. People really like it. There's a vibe of a band, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
Pete Lawler says, bloody hell, I've missed this. You're all ace.
Hello, Pete.
Thank you, mate.
Milton H2O says, greetings from drizzly Portland, Oregon. Dan, will you please explain the alternating string thing for anyone who did not hear it?
Okay, no problem. My favourite gag on The Simpsons was they went in season 1, they went to a water slide. And the biggest water slide there was called H2O. Okay, so Michael, will you take this for me? Now,
Something's just come over me, Dan.
say man. Okay, just play the strings one at a time. E, A, D, G sharp,
Sorry, I'll start again.
E, A, D, G, B, E. Okay, standard tuning on the guitar. Now, if I play the open strings in this, E, A, D, G, B, E. It's the same notes, but I've got some strings in different octaves.
Here
so
we
if
go.
you play the first one.
Bottom E.
So I've got that up 1 octave. Next one, same. Next one. So that's a D that I've got up 1 octave.
If you play these notes together, what do we get? 2, 3, 4. Basically a 12 string.
Next one. So that's a G that is down an octave. Next one. Same, B. Next one. And there's an E that's down an octave. So the low E and the high E on this guitar are the same. So
Play an open E major chord. Same notes, different register.
So that's all it is. Now, the beauty about that is that I don't have to think differently about what I'm playing. But what I do need to do is listen, because what comes out is surprising. We get so used to just strumming, and we get so used to the sound of the chords and what we play, that so often we just stop thinking about it. Doing this, you know, so if I
Just written a Snow Patrol song.
you know, a bit of yeah. And then you hear things like, and it's because they're all in different registers, it's chords and things that you know, but it just brings a whole different energy, and it's a really fun way. If you're recording and you've written a song, you have some simple chords, try it. And it doesn't really matter which strings you change. I've just sort of gone a bit random. One thing I do like about this register though is having this low the low G, because things like if I that E chord, it ends up being a first inversion major chord, because that's the lowest note. Like normally you'd play that like that for the.
Yeah, you have to re-evaluate all things like intonation and all that, and then that's the interesting bit, because then new stuff comes out, because you sort of have to bend it into shape, don't you?
Yeah,
you have to make it work.
Really, really fun thing.
Really cool, great sound. When if you haven't watched Friday's video, Dan goes off a bit and starts playing a thing, and I think of maybe a vibrato pedal and a delay was turned on, and it sounded like a contemporary record to me.
Right.
It sounded like exactly the kind of thing you'd hear on a contemporary record.
Right.
Really cool.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Nothing. I mean, if you know 3 chords, you can do it. You know, just be creative and try some stuff. Fun.
Alex. Hello, Alex.
G'day, mate.
Alex says, when does a telly stop being a telly and just become a telly-shaped Les Paul or Strat? Example, if you had dual humbuckers or a tremolo, a vibrato. Same question for Strats and Les Pauls.
I'll give you a definitive answer. You ready?
I know what Dan's going to say. Hello, Rose. What are you doing then?
Okay.
You going to come up here? Come on in.
This.
I know you want to sit on Dan's lap, don't you?
You coming up?
My dog,
Come on.
Dan's lap.
Come on, Dad. Come on. Come on.
You're a tart, Rosie.
Come on. Okay. This. Tally. Nick, if you'd be so kind as to put your finger over the Fender logo for me. T-shaped object. Finger off. Telecaster. Finger on. T-shaped object. For me, it's that simple. It's only if it's a Fender.
It's a telly.
It's a telly.
Well, there was a certain trademark issue there as well.
Yeah.
That is a statement of fact. I think I used to get, well, I probably still do, get very hurt up about all of this. Hello, Rose. Oh, thank you. Finally. She sits on Catherine's lap. She very rarely sits on my lap, because I'm the boring one, aren't I? I do all the walks and the throwing things for you. And you regular viewers will know that I'm quite traditionalist when it comes to guitars, and if it's a Les Paul, I want it to look like a Les Paul that was made between 57 and 60, and if it's a Strat, I want it to look like it was made between 1954 and 1960, late 63, maybe 64, and if it's a telly, I want it to look like it was made between 52 and 64.
Okay.
65, yeah. Basically when the headstock logo changes, when the shape changed, but that was much later. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. But it's all crap, isn't it? All these things, they don't mean anything. What means something is that the guitar works and you love playing it, and you feel inspired to do so. And that's what's important.
Completely. And I've got loads of T-style guitars that I love playing, but I don't call them Telecasters, because they're not. They're T-style guitars. And some of them have got improvements that make them arguably not, I wouldn't say superior instruments, but they have,
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the actual question.
They, what do you call it, where they have different shaped radius.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
All that stuff.
People say conical. It's not conical. It's compound. People say compound. It's not compound. It's conical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all of that stuff. So everything you do to a vintage spec guitar to make it more playable, flatten out the fingerboard, bigger frets, noiseless pickups, I don't know, all the things that get done to turn a 52 Blackguard Telly into a Sir Modern T.
Yeah. And it's a great guitar.
Andy Wood's going to probably choose the Sir Modern T most days of the week.
Yeah.
And someone else will choose the other guitar. So it's, and then they are different at that point. But is it different in any sort of global, this is better for that than that way? No, it's not. It's down to how you play it, how you interact with the thing. And all of that, I'm personally very attached to the vintage spec and look and vibe.
Yeah.
and that's important to me, but only because I'm attached to it in my mind, which is not important.
Yeah, I get that. But there's some, seeing a Telecaster low strung into a cranked AC30, and that there's so much there in that image. You replace that with put a different logo on the headstock. It's like changes things.
Yeah.
Just mentally.
Yeah.
But it's it's connecting with that part of history.
Yeah.
Certainly for me.
Yeah. I promise not to bang on about this, but it's kind of interesting in a lot of the stuff I've been working on over the last few years, and the headspace that is becoming more of day-to-day experience, which is you're actively detaching from all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, like, identification with thought is the term, and it's that which binds us to. Anyway, I'm not going to bang on about it, but since getting into all of that, this stuff matters to me less,
right,
and is mattering to me much less.
Okay,
but that doesn't mean I'm going to go out and buy a Sir tomorrow. That's highly unlikely to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and they're great guitars.
Yeah. I'm not saying they're not great guitars.
They're great guitars, exactly.
Yeah.
Just hear what we're saying. That all that stuff is great. We've just found the stuff that we like.
Yeah.
There's vintage spec Telecaster. There's enough in this guitar that I'll spend the rest of my life trying to figure it out. I don't need the other stuff, but I love all the other stuff.
Yeah. One of the interesting, Dan often tells a story on Experience Days and has told it in other ways as well about his epiphany with vintage analog effects came via, he had a digital processing unit, and the story he always tells is producer hands him the Electric Mistress and says, try this, and he says, why do I need that? It says flanger on my rack here. Why would I need this? Surely this is better because it's newer. And I think that argument happens with guitars. Many modern guitar companies will tell you that because it is a conical radius, and because the pickups are noiseless, and because this is some sort of superior and also evolved instrument, but that doesn't mean better. Might be easier to play, might be all kinds of things you could say about it, but I always use the example of the Stradivari violin, right? It got to a point in its evolution where that's it.
Completely.
Anything past that, and it wasn't that anymore.
Yeah.
And it perhaps was no less a important musical instrument or could be used in creative ways, not saying that at all, but go and play in a top flight orchestra with your electric violin.
Yeah.
It happens. It has happened. I'm not talking about the outliers. I'm talking about all day, every day orchestras. You're not going to get a look in.
Yeah.
And I personally think, to come back to the question, those specific eras of electric guitars that we're talking about, broadly speaking, 1950 to 1964, that is electric guitar to me.
Yeah.
Are we going to include things like superstrats, gems and stuff like that? Maybe. I think that's a very small modification.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Humbucker and a whammy bar.
The DNA of those guitars is so strongly rooted in.
It's not a Parker Fly or a Teufel Birdfish,
No.
So I think that is electric guitar in the same way that it is Stradivari influenced violin.
Yeah.
That is electric guitar. And I'm going to nail it on even further.
Do it.
That is electric guitar.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah, completely. A couple of people are asking what is the radius of red, asking about the 7.25 or 9.25. 7.25, I mean, this is 63 spec through and through. Yeah. And it's got the round lamb fingerboard, so you can see clearly that Lovely big radius.
Yeah. Funny, isn't it? I kind of fenders feel weird to me if they're not
Completely.
7 1/4. But
Yeah.
sometimes with a fret job they'll flatten it out a little bit. But then Gibsons are 12, and I'd play Gibsons all day long. So I don't know. Braden B says, would you consider PRS as a super strat for this argument? I think Paul deserves a great deal of credit for making something new that was genuinely between the two.
Yeah.
And it depends which era of PRS you're talking about, but in broad terms, early days of PRS, 1985 is when it sort of really begins, and then into the early 90s when they start getting big. The range was really bolt-on maple neck guitars and set neck mahogany neck guitars, even though they looked the same. You sort of had one that was closer to a Gibson type thing and one that was closer to a Fender type thing, presumably to appeal to players of those guitars who wanted something familiar but didn't have all the problems of those instruments. And I think Paul deserves special mention for creating something not exactly unique and groundbreaking and breaking the form, because then it wouldn't have been successful, right? It would have been the same story as Ken Parker, or, with no disrespect to Ken Parker, it didn't work, the Parker Flight. They don't make them anymore. But it's the same thing, right? It's still electric guitar, isn't it? It's not groundbreaking,
Right.
I think.
The PRS.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like the perfect middle ground, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
beautifully executed.
I don't know if the analogy stands up, but I'm assuming there were other very brilliant violin makers apart from Stradivari, or Stradivarius, I think. He's called both, isn't he? Depending on which version of the name you use. Anyway, and maybe that's it. Different brand, but kind of the same thing. Maybe. I don't know.
What's up, Doc?
Like trying to reinvent the wheel, says Robert Lewis. Yeah, it
completely.
kind of is. It kind of is. Cars are interesting, aren't they?
Very interesting.
If you look at a car, it's a box with a wheel on each corner, and it has been since the Model T Ford. But not really.
No, no. But that thing is, yes, wheel on each corner and still gets you from point A to point B. And you can spend 500 quid on a car or $500,000 on a car. They'll still get you from point A to point B. But one's going to get you there in real style. The other one may or may not get you there.
But also in actual practical application, nobody is driving around in cars from the 50s other than as
Collectors.
restored classics enthusiasts.
Yeah.
Guitars from the 50s are being used on almost every major decent rock and roll and pop release that happens. They're still at the absolute height of their professional use, which is the thing I find utterly amazing.
Yeah.
Plus, just one final thing. Look at that.
That's so gorgeous.
Look at it.
For me,
It could have been invented yesterday.
yeah. One of the beautiful things about going to Walt Grace Vintage in Miami is they have vintage guitars and vintage cars, and it is the pinnacle of classic American design. It is the curves on it, it's perfect. And it might be because, we've all grown up with these shapes, but it's so beautiful. And
It is beautiful.
Yeah, it really is beautiful.
I'm sure clever people who understand design and all of that will tell you certain things about its ratios. and its...
okay. Yeah, but
And
I
you can do
agree.
that, Dan.
I at times,
Except the damn E-string falls off the top of the neck. I must do something about that. And that's why you need your sir.
But I have at times sat down with when I got the 65, and I remember just one morning having a coffee, and it's just, let's have it. I just had a coffee and I just sat there staring at that guitar. Yeah, come on.
Look at it. Look at it.
There you go. That was your 61. So this is 65. It's just same. It's just so flippin' on it. Another 65, right?
Yeah, it's 65 guitar, but invented in 58.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
Yep. There you go. I mean, I feel ridiculous saying this. 61, 62.
We are fortunate people to have these things.
Now, these are things that...
But they're magic.
Yeah, they are magic. But these are things...
Sorry, it's probably getting a bit distasteful now.
Yeah, no, but it's like, okay, we didn't mean to show off, but it's like the reason that these are collected over a lifetime.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Literally.
We should be doing much better.
But we are fascinated and absolutely enamored with these gorgeous. I mean, I've wanted one of these for the longest time, and I've been keeping an eye out for one for 30 years. It's just so...
Combustion Engine says those guitars are being used by professional enthusiasts. Yeah, me and Dan, but go into any decent studio or go and see Tom Bukovac recording whatever's in the country top 10 this week and look at what guitars he's using.
Yep.
Add that to most of the good studios in London and across the world.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see 50s and 60s guitars in there being used.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So funny. I remember when I got this, and when I get a new guitar, first place I go is Dave Gregory's. We sit down, he makes a cup of tea, and we sit down and we play it and go. But he pulls out, because he's got the most wonderful guitar collection.
Yeah.
And he pulls out these old things, and there's magic in them. There really is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I suppose the good to round it off, the good news is it's now all available, which it certainly wasn't.
No, that's exactly right.
I remember buying my first PRS because I just could not get my damn Strat to stay in tune. I didn't know how to do it. It wasn't an evolved instrument. It had gougy saddles. It had all the stuff that I didn't understand yet. And the PRS was a far superior instrument to that guitar. So, but now, flipping heck, man, not only can you buy it with posh brand, but you can get most of it with affordable brands too. So
Gordon Rankin says
it's glorious.
Yeah, Gordon Rankin says if you want an old guitar vibe, get something from Bill Nash. Bill Nash makes great stuff and it's not expensive. And Doe Boyog says, my dad was invented in 52. Anyone want to pay me 10k plus for him? His tremolo's a bit loose.
Perilous, sorry Alex, that was a monster reply, wasn't it? Perilous Temple. He
Hello,
says,
mate.
while you were away, I got to see Josh Smith. Nice. Something about it. Her guitar Istanbul's pretty good. I too. Something got lost in translation there. Sorry, I'm trying to work it out. Joe is something else also. Liam Finn was opening.
Oh, lovely.
Wow. Tell the kids about Liam and get him on the show.
Yeah.
He has been on the show very briefly once before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Josh is something else, isn't he?
Man, I'll never forget when we first had him on the show. And he's got that telly with like 13s or something on it. And you and I just couldn't get a note. And then he picks it up. It was just awesome. Yeah, he's so great.
Yeah. Two calls. Nathan Lundell Maynard wants to know what frets are in that telly, Dan.
6105s.
In both guitars.
In both guitars, always.
Yeah.
6105s. They're the thin fret, I find, is easier to intonate, and it's high enough off the fretboard that you can sort of dig in a bit. I don't like them too close to the fretboard. 6105s for me are the perfect fret. And they're not... I've tried stainless... When I say I've tried stainless steel frets, I've played plenty of guitars with stainless steel frets, and I have not enjoyed every single one. Every single one I've tried, it's gone. And I like a bright guitar, but there's something in that frequency that just sort of... It's like chewing on a bit of aluminium when it hits a filling.
Yeah. It was fascinating. When Dan had red refretted last time, it had 6100s in there the first time, and we got it back and we were like,
That's not it.
That's not it. So he had it immediately refretted with 6105s, and that was the better tonal choice for that guitar. You know, to add weight to that hole, it's only the pickups that make any difference in guitars. The frets had an absolutely massive sonic impact on red. So much so that we both sat here going, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And it took a minute to work it out, didn't it?
Completely.
But yeah. Seventh World. Love you guys. We love you too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Barry Thomas, he says, sorry I spammed the comments with a fundraiser. I didn't know it was forbidden. It all worked out anyway. Well, I don't know if it's actually forbidden, Barry, but...
I think you find it's pronounced foreboding.
Yes, we'll... Vorboten. We'll let BV make those decisions. But yes, good luck with your fundraiser, whatever it may be. Right, I'll just check we don't have any more superchargers. We do. We have one from Michael Gleason. Hello, Michael. And he says, or he would if my machine would refresh. Come on. Yeah, literally no idea what's going on there. Probably log me out as it normally does. He says, can't wait for the experience day in April.
We've got one this Friday, haven't we?
We do. Coming from Berkeley, California. Spent 3 hours with a 69 Strat recently. Those old Strats are different. No ice pick, lots of thick mids and lows. Rounder and warmer. Do you agree? Broadly, yes. Broadly, yes.
Depends on the Strat.
But when I was going through all the turmoil that ended up with the with mine, I was staggered how different some of them were. I played 63s that were like loud and aggressive and really like
wow.
And then 59s and 60s that were soft and ping and
wow.
Yeah, really giant difference. And what I discovered is that sort of trajectory, lovely round and beautiful and chimey and all those things you would associate with a Strat 5960. Bearing in mind I'm talking about rosewood board ones. I don't really know anything about maple board ones. And then they seem to get stronger and stronger and stronger into early 64. And then the wire changes in 64, and that's a different thing. But yeah, a lot of the 62s, 63s I've played can be real sledgehammers, real like...
Wow.
Yeah. But here's a contentious thing for you to think about. With the Dan and I being lucky enough to have access now to some vintage guitars and live with them and understand them.
And there's a lot of understanding that goes on because they are. When you say that the guitar has character, but they're as complex as some people I know. You know, there's so much to understand about, you know, harmonically and where might be a bit of resonance happening, so you get a bit of frequency cancellation in certain spots and all that stuff.
All the stuff that makes them so amazingly interesting hasn't been ironed out.
Exactly.
And of course they're all individual as well. It's to talk about vintage guitars, to think that this is going to be the same as the next one off the production line. they're not going to be the same.
And to think that they're all great is also wrong.
Yeah, completely. The ones that have survived, this is a cliche, but the ones that have survived tend to be the better ones. If we can even say what better and worse is, maybe, shall we say, appeals to more people
Yeah.
in an average kind
That's
of
good.
way.
I like that.
Or fits in the idiom of rock and roll in where they were used. Might have been that some of them that didn't survive would have been great doing something else, you know, metal, which hadn't been invented yet. In any case, one little thing that I'm starting to think now, this guitar, that guitar, your 61 Junior especially, and I'm going to say more so the Gibsons and the Fenders, but the Fenders too, less obviously. You know how people say this is the only stuff that matters?
Yeah.
I actually think maybe this is more important than anything.
The wood?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Having made a few adjustments to this guitar electronically, put some new electronics in it, down here, it sounds better than it did before. Now, I know that's a wiring configuration thing, but I do think the sound of this guitar is in this damn wood.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, I agree.
I've got no way of proving it. I'll get beaten to hell in the comments, particularly by one person. Please don't be watching tonight. It's my lived experience.
Yeah.
And I think it's something to do with the finish as well.
Sure.
Because these old nitro finishes, they just go off and they become one
Yeah.
with it.
Just answer a quick question. OTR366 says, Dan, if you were to cover a ZZ Top tunes with your old faithful red telly, what amp and pedals would you look to get that Billy Gibbons tone? The Chupacabra overdrive from Mythos, it just has that sound, and that would be into, it would sound great into a Lux, but into,
So much more sizzly than you think.
yeah,
Billy Gibbons' sound.
yeah. There, it's just,
Chupacabra
it's the most amazing thing.
means goat sucker.
And I would probably, I mean, that into a deluxe reverb that's working, heaven.
Yeah. Or a tweed.
Or a tweed, yeah. Into my J20, heaven.
I don't know how you actually play Sharp Dressed Man. I've never learnt it properly.
You play really well though. You've
Well,
got that.
I was going to say, play it like this. Because it's in C, right? To get that. Because that's the riff, right? Because you can't go. It is an intonation nightmare. If anyone knows how to actually play it, let me know. But that's how I've always played it, with a load of overdrive. Oh yeah, once you get into the riff, you want to be up here.
All right. But you get that slide thing. It sounds really
I'm playing
great.
that on the D and G strings down there.
Let's swap for a sec. That's so loud, this guitar.
I am missing but a single thing. Actually, we're going to get a copyright strike any moment, aren't we? And that lick.
That's it.
Maybe that's Give Me All Your Lovin', is it? It's just a masterclass, isn't it, Billy Gibbons?
So good.
Anyway, after all that contentious guitar wood talk, tone wood, man. something about old guitars, Michael, for sure. If you're open to it, and I totally get that a lot of people just aren't open to it.
And that. Man,
It's so good.
it's beautiful.
Bagger tweeters, that's how he does it with the open C. Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
That register stuff is really important because this sounds different than,
Yeah.
even though it's the same notes.
Well, how the harmonics develop through distortion is the really important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But that's the thing, right? You could go, or that open thing. Awesome.
Yeah. Todd Roy says, but those people that are not open to it, why are they so hateful? I don't know. It's about hate, isn't it? I think it's about... it's an ego thing, isn't it? And I'd probably have it in the opposite direction where because somebody doesn't agree with you, you think they're attacking you personally. Like, I'm not a massive fan of anchovies, right? I don't mind them on pizza and... like mixed in with things, don't mind them to use to give a bit of salty whatever, like a fish sauce kind of thing, don't mind it in that. But to sit there and eat a jar of anchovies, I just don't want to do it. But I don't have any problem with anyone that does, and I don't feel diminished in my human self because I don't like anchovies and somebody else does. It's just the same with guitars, right? You know, yeah, it's just it's subjective. It's subjective, and you don't have to feel diminished in your ego because somebody likes something different. Dan and we're talking about the digital debate so much. You know, we've got attached to this debate, and I'm just so over it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I prefer this. Do you not understand?
Yeah.
And I understand that you prefer that. I understand that. I really do.
I put up when I went and saw the Foo Fighters, and I put up a little post on Instagram. Just really inspired. Everything was live. Josh Freese doing his thing, and we were sort of stood like 10 feet away from him. Oh my word! Just to hear him acoustically off the side of the stage, it's just astonishing. But everyone was loud, and you know, and I just put there's no backing tracks, there's no drum triggers, there's no digital modeling. This is the way you fight the Foo. And there was this. I just captured this beautiful moment between Dave Grohl and Pat Smear, where they were just wigging out on something together at the front of the stage.
Apparently, we've already had a copyright strike at the beginning of the show with the Oasis tunes.
No. Oh my goodness. All right. But yeah, and that was like, I wasn't saying that anything else was bad. I was just saying this is what they do, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And boy, it was really interesting.
Yeah. Well, Dormant is kind of in on that. He's saying there is no denying there's some snobbery from vintage instrument owners over the rest of us. Hoi polloi. There might be. Snobbery does exist for sure. But actually, talk to your psychiatrist about it and they'll explain it if you've got one. They'll explain how that works. It's about inferiority and superiority complexes and how you... That's what it's about. Sometimes, yeah, it's about how you choose to see it rather than what's actually coming from the other party. I would rather hope that it's too easy, isn't it? It's too easy to say this is better than that, blah blah blah. And we simplify our language and the things we say because it's easier to do that than have to qualify everything all the time. But maybe you could just hear it different. When someone says this is better than that, you can add a little bit on the front that says, in my opinion, in my subjective opinion, this is better than that.
Yeah.
And that's what everyone should say, right? But it's too long to say it.
Frankie Holt says, play some Eagles, go for the hat trick.
Yeah. Have we really got a copyright strike? That would be so annoying. That would be really annoying.
Oh boy.
Just the way copyright works, right? So if, let's say, we did a video once, and Dan and I played "Here Comes the Sun" on the beginning of the video, which was a dumb thing to do.
Well, we didn't know any better.
Well, I did. I've been working with copyright for
I didn't know any
25 years. So what happens is, the way YouTube works is, and playing a whole song is really, really dumb. But if you do it, like, for example, we played a bit of whatever we played earlier, a bit of Wonderwall and a bit of Taylor Swift, and mashed it up into one. This video will be 2 hours long. That was probably a 30-second segment. For your 30-second copyright transgression, they will take 99% of your ad revenue. Some publishers. So all your super chat money's going to Noel Gallagher tonight, just so you know, if we do have a copyright strike.
Okay, but can't we just cut that bit out?
Yeah, maybe. There we go. We just shouldn't do it. We should know that we shouldn't do it. Mr. Witt says, think you know snobbery, swim in the bluegrass pond for a while. I know.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Anything, video,
Camera,
pro audio. Yeah. I think we just got to get over it. Yeah. We've got some learning to do, it would seem.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We all do. I certainly do.
Dustin Thiessen says, did they legitimately take super chat money? That's ludicrous. I think they'd take any revenue that's off that video, so I don't know quite how that works. It might only be the ad revenue, actually, which off a VCQ is virtually zero. So
Right.
It might not be. I'll check that, actually. I will check that. Yeah. They certainly took all the ad revenue off the better plugged-in acoustic sounds.
Yeah, Oliver Boyson says, imagine Oasis falling out again because of TPS ad revenue. No, I think they're doing fine.
Yeah. I mean, oh God, probably not worth having the copyright debate. I do get it, because artists can't sell any records anymore. Music is free, so they have to monetize whatever channel they can. But as with lots of these things, it's a blunt instrument.
Yes.
If someone goes up and does a cover of it and they're getting ad revenue and they get 2 million views, that's quite a lot of money. Then yeah, that's not right. But I don't know, if you just mash up Taylor Swift and Oasis for 30 seconds of a 2-hour video as a bit of fun, I think that's slightly different. But YouTube's not smart enough to tell the difference between the two. The software is amazing. The recognition software.
Oh, it's incredible.
Really clever.
Have you ever used Shazam?
Yeah.
It's
not entirely dissimilar.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
All sort of algorithmic. They do it with pictures as well, which is flipping amazing. Photo agencies do it with pictures. Really incredible.
And now the AI pictures that are just wild.
Gareth, if you're watching, hello. I went to see Gareth Johnson just recently. Friend of ours, Standalone Productions, does the Love Bomb pedal, but also has ignited my interest in analog recording gear. And he was showing me some AI stuff. And it's like, wow.
If Gareth is watching, I really want to do a show. Gareth is an old friend of the show and is an amazing producer and does a bunch of stuff with... he writes music for TV shows and all this sort of stuff, and just a really inspiring guy to be around. So any excuse to go and hang out with him. But I would love to go down there and explore. What I'd love to do is a challenge where you and I have got to do like a 10-second sound clip for like a car chase or something, whatever.
Yeah.
And actually Gareth can give us the rules. And then we go and do it at Gareth's place and see what we can come up with.
Yeah.
Because that is an amazing world. I know a load of really serious musicians who are in that world and do really beautiful work. Lyle Workman, I think he's done his 19th album now. And, you know, and does library stuff. And I mean, far out. What an astonishing musician. But it's a really cool thing. I think when I was a kid and there was like, the idea of being a session guitar player or being in a band, there's a lot more things to explore, and that's definitely one of them. Because there are serious royalties involved in that. And still very creative, and if you've got work ethic, and it's a great thing to explore. So I think that'd be really fun. And just to get to hang out with Gareth for a day would be great.
For everyone wondering if they do actually take our Super Chat money, it seems probably not. It's probably the advertising revenue which you get from ads being shown. So we don't think it's Super Chat money. We're going to check that. BV seems to think it's only the ad revenue. So nobody panic.
Stop panicking.
And on that, Dustin Thiessen says, have you seen a massive reduction in YouTube revenue in the last number of months? I've heard other YouTubers talking about this. No. It always varies through the year anyway, so the summer's always bad. And that what has happened in recent years is that season has got bigger. So it used to be that sort of July and August it was pretty bad. Now, you know, halfway through May through to the end of September is not very good anymore. And it's really important here, it's very easy to point the finger at YouTube. Remember, that money that you get from ad revenue is people buying advertising. And with things being the way they are, and I really don't like talking negatively about whole industries because it's not always true, but there's no doubt that the musical instrument industry at the moment is down on where it was 18 months ago.
That's very fair to say.
That's a statement of fact.
Yep.
Who's buying the ads? Usually people in the musical instrument and related industry. So if business is down, they're going to spend less on advertising.
Yeah.
If you ever work for a big company, you'll know the first thing to get cut is marketing, right? Which is the dumbest thing you can possibly do, by the way, if you run a company. So the spend will be less. So that might be why we're seeing less wash through from YouTube ad revenue. We're very lucky on TPS because YouTube ad revenue is I don't want to say small, but it is a far smaller part of our revenue makeup. We make 70% of the cash we make from selling merch. So when we say buy a t-shirt, it's because it's 70% of our income. And that's what keeps the business going. So if YouTube ad revenue stopped tomorrow, we'd still be in business. If we stopped selling merch tomorrow, we'd be dead. So sorry to be boring, but that's how it works. So when YouTube ad revenue does go down, it's not, you know, it's not like brown trousers time, which it would be if a store.
Brown trousers. Brown trousers. Brown trousers.
Brown trousers, maroon shirt. Yeah. Sorry, that's really boring, but some people like to know that stuff.
This guitar's astonishing.
Isn't it? Still got a little bit of a rattle, but I don't mind it anymore.
It's not like what it was.
No, so something was obviously rattling in there. It's miles better, isn't it? I've had a few grumpy faces from people going, oh, why have you modded it? But it's just, it's infinitely better.
It's so good.
Yeah. Joe, thank you. Says, okay, I'm going to buy a t-shirt. I didn't mean that as a guilt thing. God. Most of the people on here, you guys buy our merch and that's what keeps us going. And we are deeply grateful.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So, to go back to the front of the show, where we'd said we'd hit 4,000, and we are going to have a concerted effort to try and increase our subscriber numbers because it does make a material difference to the way that YouTube makes our videos available and suggests.
Yeah.
Most of the plays that we get is because YouTube has suggested our video.
Yeah, so when you're watching a video, those videos that appear on the right there in that list, if you're not there, you're dead.
Exactly. So by having, like when we did the Best Amp in the World show, and I loved doing that video, it was really fun, but there was It was, it was engaging, and so we're going to look at a bit more of that, so that because we'd love to get to 500,000, just as a way to say that what we're doing is, reaching people.
Yeah. Yeah. We as you know, we've never been number chasers. We try to stay away from clickbait.
Yeah.
But sometimes we'll go for it. But we can't really, we're not very good at it. We can't do it. And the long-term success of the show is in not doing that stuff. It's in being true to ourselves and hopefully true to you guys, and being authentic about what we do, which sounds like a marketing story, but that's what will keep us in business. Not getting a bit more ad revenue here and there, because it keeps us interested too.
So great, man.
It doesn't suck, does it?
So great.
It does not suck. Yeah.
Well done.
Good. All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Sorry, it all got a bit serious at the end there, but sometimes it's good to talk about these things. I think Dan is already playing us out. Thank you for being here, everyone. This Friday, this is all I'm saying. Thanks for being here, everyone. See you soon.